It is Good News Monday, and there's nothing like an hour-long video with Jay, Franz, and Lars to make an otherwise good day great. And I have co-host Larry Goldberg here to help me understand that video and a whole lot more. Hey, Larry, how you going?
Great, great, Randy. How are you?
Like I said, it was already a good day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that video was really, really great. I mean, I'm not sure we learned a whole lot on that video. I mean, we did learn a little bit about, the waiting mode. It was nice to see the controls on the raising and the lowering. It was nice to see the UI.
yes,
We hadn't been shown, all the components of the UI before, or the structure of the UI, and I like that a lot. I'll tell you a little secret, I love my X,
yeah,
but I hate the split screen. I hate the screen in front of, behind the steering wheel and the screen. I
oh,
grew up, or I was trained on the 3.
right,
So to go from the 3, which is as the central screen, and go to that split screen, I still haven't got used to it after a year and a bit,
wow,
and 20,000 miles. I like that the Cybertruck didn't try and do that.
right,
I mean, they got it 100% right, 100% right. Because you don't want to have to figure out, do I look at this screen or do I look at this screen for this?
yeah, yeah.
And I really like the organization of the screen. I like the size of the screen. So that, I've sat in the Cybertruck, and I've had, really experienced people, talk to me about it, but for some reason I didn't go through the
Oh yeah.
UI.
And
Anyway,
I'm not sure at that point it would have been nearly as sophisticated as now.
no, this was this was at the event.
Oh, it
So
was. Oh, I didn't know
so the
you.
trucks were ready.
I didn't know you said it then.
Oh yeah. At the event, I sat in the truck. It was somebody's truck. I can't remember who. It was at the after party that I got to sit
Oh
in. And
yeah.
Sandy Monroe was kind of doing the whole song and dance. So we really were following what he was showing us about it. And what struck me was, wow, the amount of space in the back seat row. That was that was a surprise. Um, Yeah, and I just listening to Lars, when you listen to Elon, you're a little, he tends to want to, color things
Optimism.
big. I mean, he jokes around. But Lars is right, very down to earth, and he tells it the way he is, and it's just fantastic to hear, how much went into this truck. I mean,
Yeah.
so many levels of thought went into this truck, and of course, France is, world class. I mean, France is next level in terms of design and concept, and he's proven it again and again. I mean, that guy has had 4 straight hits in a row,
Right.
and this is the 5th.
Yes.
He's hit it out of the park every single time. So I mean, it's just fantastic. So this is 5 out of 5 for him, and I'm just waiting for the 25K. Sub 25K car. How far sub? I don't know. Warren said on a interview he had just the other night that he thought it was going to be sub 20K. So
Yes, right. We'll see. Speaking of people that tend to be the ones who take the biggest shots,
yeah,
I learned that from him because he was one of the first that I paid attention to, and I was on his channel. It was one of the first ones that I went.
yeah.
And
No, I love Warren. He's
yeah,
great. He's great. Yeah.
So, all right. So, what did we learn? One of the things I was thinking though, Larry, your truck is now, on the way, so to speak. You're supposed to see it in February, March. something like that, January, February?
Well, I figure out I'm about halfway down the popularity is the numbered
Right.
game. So I'm probably of the 300 pre-orders that I think it's 300. I don't have a real good number. I think I'm right, number 150. And if they're really doing, 30, 40 a week, I mean, I could be in luck in January, February at the latest.
Yeah. So as I was watching them go through the screen, I noticed all those settings, so many settings for off-roading. And I was thinking, gosh, Larry, you might have to try a new sport, a new hobby, here. Are you thinking that you'll take this thing off-road and test
It isn't going to happen.
and then I forget whether it was Lars or Franz. One of them said it almost floats. Now, is almost floating kind of like almost winning in horseshoes? I mean, it's
well, they figure it can wade in up to 2.5 feet of water.
Right.
So given the buoyancy, of the closed cabin, you have to think in 2.5 feet of water, there's not a lot of weight left on those tires.
Yeah.
I think I would be very hesitant to take it through water at that depth.
Yes.
But 9, 12 inches of water would be very, comfortable. And honestly speaking, in this part of the world, in the South where I live, we can get that.
Yes, I know.
Roads,
yeah. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I may have told the story before, but I had a 1962 Plymouth Valiant that I accidentally took into water that was above the hood. I mean, it was at night and the headlights were submerged.
Wow.
And it went through and came out the other side. So it isn't impossible to have a car that can.
I have to do the numbers on that because I had 2 Valiants in a row.
All right.
And it has to be 66 or 67, 68. I had a Valiant in Cape Town, South Africa, and then I moved back up to Johannesburg area and I bought another Valiant then. I love that car.
Oh, me too.
It was
as a rock.
Yeah, it was one of the few American cars that you could buy in South Africa. And so they imported it in whole. It wasn't like
Oh, yeah.
like so many cars in South Africa made up of a kit, but I really enjoyed that car immensely. And it was the first automatic car that I had, and one of the few automatic cars on the road in South Africa at that time.
And it was push button instead of.
No, this was not the push button.
You didn't have the push button.
This was after the push button. I had a colleague who had a push button one. I think the push button came earlier. I think this was a gear shift.
All right, so we did learn a few other things. One of the things that I was knocked over by was the Semi will begin volume production in 2024. Now, we all want that, and we all thought that, but we had no clarification from anybody. So to me, that was a complete newsmaker right there.
Yeah, so, it's one of the mysteries right now that we're struggling with is where are the batteries coming from and where are they going to? I was expecting, 30 million battery announcement imminently. It hasn't come yet. It's really hard to see what their volume of battery production is so that we know what's going to go into the Semi. Now, it's quite possible that the Semi, I think the Semi is going to do 2170.
I think so. Last time they mentioned, I think. Yeah.
And maybe the second release of the Semi will do 4680s. And, the question is, will the cattle factory be up in time to supply the Model 3s? There are so many unknowns about the battery supply. We need to do a deep dive. And, I don't think we have enough information to do a deep dive. So everything's up in the air, but it'd be very exciting to see Semi production. I don't think it's going to add that much to revenue for the year, but
no, not for 24, of course.
Yeah.
Then he also mentioned, he confirmed the 2 million reservation number, which was interesting because now that gives us some confidence in the way that reservations have been being counted over time.
Absolutely. We knew it was 2 million, and people, a lot of our colleagues are saying, on YouTube and in X, no, it's more than 1 million, somewhere. And then some were saying 1.5 million. And I couldn't understand this because all the counters indicate that we were over the 2 million. So this confirms the counter's integrity, or it gives us a confidence level, not integrity, but it gives us confidence level in the counters. Now, what's very interesting is if we can start doing an analysis of the number of people who are buying the foundation, look, the foundation series is not a great deal. It's a very expensive car. You really have to have a very high level of commitment to buy the foundation level, because it's functionally paying $20,000 more for the car, for the truck.
Right.
But if we see the translation ratio of, to orders of that foundation level, it's going to give us an indication of what the 2 million is likely to be. It'll give us a directional idea.
Right.
My sense is those 2 million are going to translate into over 1 million and some real orders.
Right.
Now, when you're talking about 1 million and some orders, and you're talking about 250,000 production rate, that's crazy. They are going to have to step up the production rate. They are going to have to. And they're going to have to do it in relatively short order.
Yeah. I thought another big newsmaker, I mean, it's not a huge deal, but I think it's important that Franz couldn't think of a single item in the truck that wasn't made in America.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, what I'm very confident about is, and this is the point I was going to lead to, if they're going to have to step production up to, the 500,000 level, I think there's a relatively short route to it. They definitely have the space in Giga Texas, and I have a whole thing about the space in Giga Texas. It's enormous. I mean, they have a lot of empty room, but more importantly, they don't have to put in a paint shop.
Right.
So the speed at which they can scale is quite significant. Now, they may have to buy another press. I don't know. I think they're going to end up having to buy another press. But, if they get to 250,000 in next year, if they get to that 250,000 rate by the end of next year, I think that somewhere in the middle of next year, they're going to have to start scaling.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I think they'll maybe even start planning that scaling even before that time. And it may be that this isn't even requiring another line. It may be that this can be achieved just by more shifts.
Well, I don't know.
We don't know what the shift, we don't know what one shift can produce.
Yeah, they do need the bending machine, the cutting and bending machinery. Whether, that can achieve the level of scale, it's really hard to tell. I don't know, but it seems to me, and I may be misreading this, but it seems to me the margin on that truck is very high.
I would think so. I think we're all like hoping and expecting. Now, again, Elon says he doesn't want to overcharge, but he also doesn't want there to be some kind of a flipping business out there that where the flippers are making the profit instead of Tesla.
Right. Well, that's just that early stage of shortages and stuff. I think once it gets to volume, but I think they've got a gigantic hit on their hands, just a gigantic hit on their hands. This is another why. And the dollars that they're going to earn from this, and it's going to kill the other manufacturers. I may be wrong.
Yeah, well, we'll certainly start to find out. Well, the last thing on that video that was interesting, I thought, well, there's probably lots more that other people would have found interesting, was that inductive charging is coming. This is not maybe, this is their,
Yeah, I would downplay that as important news. I think inductive charging is not It's not that efficient. In fact, it's very inefficient, and it's useful in some use cases that I don't think anybody's going to change their home charger for an inductive charger, because inductive charging is going to be, I don't know, if they can get 15 kilowatts, they'll be doing pretty good.
It'll be interesting. Yeah.
I think inductive charging for the bot makes a whole lot of sense.
Oh, yes.
I mean, huge sense. But I don't think the inductive charging sounds good, but it's pretty low power, and it's not that. I don't think it's that great. So I don't know about that. I think the more we learn of the manufacturing features and the simplicity of the truck, the more excited I get.
Yeah, yeah. So after that Jay Leno video and all of the news that we just talked about that was in the Jay Leno video, Tesla ended up spiking early and then going off into this very slow downtrend the rest of the day, and actually almost reaching 260, which was my number for today. I actually said this morning I thought it was going to get to 260. Almost got there, then came on down into actually ended in the red. Was meanwhile, it did not do as well as the Mag 7 or the NASDAQ. Everything else was up. I don't see any bad news. But then if you look at the Cathie Wood stocks, which I love to look at, people that watch this channel know I always take a look at that, as Tesla has now been following the Cathie Wood stocks again, which are notable for their high potential growth and their susceptibility to interest rates. So the bonds did get knocked down, just the bond rally tapered off. The yields went up a little bit today, but I didn't think it went up enough to knock down either Cathie Wood or Tesla. I know you can't always find a reason, but what did you think about today's action? Anything?
No.
I
think it's random. I really don't see any catalyst one way or the other from today. My own read of the situation is that there's going to be some disappointment about end of quarter numbers and earnings. So, I think there's a play on that. People can sell puts for income. I think there's some money to be made if one wants to make money out of it, selling buying a put over the news breaking period. I really, I think that the stock is building a gigantic head of steam based upon the Cybertruck, based upon the the potential, the energy business that it's building, and obviously in the longer term based upon the robot Optimus and the next gen vehicle, but
and FSD and Dojo, which now apparently there's at least a position that they're hiring to create an interface.
All of the above. And they have 200 people working on the bot right now. Over 200 people. We counted 200 and some people, 20
200
people.
plus. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there are just so many catalysts in that company, and they're all coming, starting in late 2024, early 25 into 26, we're going to see a Cambrian explosion. Somebody described it as of technology.
Right.
I don't remember who it was, but they described it as a Cambrian explosion, and I have to agree. I think things are really building ahead of steam. And anybody who's trading in the short term, looking for 2024 profits or looking for relief from maybe being down a little bit from the top, needs to either they have conviction about the 2025 story or they don't. If they don't, this is a good time to call it a day. If they do, then the ride is going to be pretty wild.
Okay. Well, now the general market might be getting a little bit stretched The greed curve is very high. Well, actually, it's just going into the very greedy category. Some of the ratios are looking a little overbought. Can the Santa Claus rally continue? Can it continue into January? I thought earlier maybe it could just keep going, but maybe until we get some earnings getting reported in January to confirm the reality of the current rally, maybe we'll have a pause. Maybe we'll have a little trouble getting much further until the middle of January.
I think we're seeing some extreme moderation of inflation. Trueflation, is now well under 3.
2.84.
Yeah, and we're seeing moderation even being reported, in the government reports. So it's more than possible that, we're going to see a lot of excitement around that. It's run up very fast and very high, but this is the nature of, of markets. I mean, you think, oh, it can't go any higher than this, can't go any higher, and then, whoa, we're in a whole new world, which would, undercut my thesis about this rolling recession. But, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Kathy's been wrong. Maybe we are going into, somebody described it today. I read a report, not a soft landing, not a hard landing, not a landing at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
In other words, we're just going to continue along this path with continuing improvement.
Well, Larry, the builders' confidence came in strong today, and I didn't think there was time. I didn't think the research would have had time. In other words, there would be enough time since the interest rates started dropping for this to reflect any of that. But maybe it was reflecting it. I mean, we have mortgage interest rates today under 7%, 30 years. So that's pretty significant. The housing sector alone could take us to the next level because it's been so beaten down. There's a lot of opportunity for it to buoy up the next move in the marketplace.
Yeah, but the real question is where interest rates are going. Are they going to go down to, somebody called the long-term rate getting down to 2.8% today? I mean,
well, I can see that, Larry, in 2025. I can't see it in 2024, maybe, but I don't think so.
Well, look at the rate at which it went up in,
right.
in this last year, and compare it. It's the rate at which it rose. It could well fall as quickly as that, and if it does, whoever's holding 10-year bonds right now are going to be in very good shape.
I think the 2 month or those.
Well, they're not going to make profit out of that, because the rates are going to decline.
All right, the 1 year. How about the 1 year? Okay.
Yeah, 1 year is not going to. I mean, you have to be well over 5 years, to really earn. Well, I guess 3 to 5 years does do okay. the real vigorish is in the 10-year. That's where the huge impact has.
Yeah. So all right. So we could see. I think the one way that we would see them go down as fast as they came up is if we do overshoot the 2%. If we start to see the inflation come in at 1% or even negative into deflation, then yes, the interest rates, they would have to drop. There's no way.
That's a very fair observation.
All right. So
the possibility is there.
Yeah. A couple of quick ones, Larry. Disney was removed from the entertainment center, maybe. Maybe not.
I mean, God, I love Elon Musk, but man, it's difficult. It's difficult to love him in some of these occasions. He is driven by his own devils. He really doesn't like the actions that have been taken against him. He feels they've been very unfair, and he's acting in turn. But he's he's not the majority shareholder, he's not the sole shareholder of Tesla. He's a shareholder of Tesla, a major shareholder of Tesla. He's the CEO. He needs to temper, his personal concerns in the Tesla context. Having said that, from my part, as an investor, I could care less.
It's not going to matter a week from now.
It's not going to matter at all. I mean, you want to watch Disney, type Disney into your browser and you'll get Disney. And as it turns out, he's not removing it from people who've been using it. For my part, I've never used it and never going to use it.
No. So another quick one, in terms of the general economy, we now have, I said, I think a week ago, maybe you and I were even talking about it, that, you can never really predict the future because you never know where the next war is going to break out. Now we've got the Red Sea and the Suez Canal, and almost all the shipping has stopped because the insurance companies will not insure it. And these shipping companies don't want their employees to be at risk. And as long as the Houthis, I think, as long as these guys are attacking these ships, we could end up seeing a lot of companies spending a lot of extra money on transportation to go around the Cape or to find other methods of getting stuff shipped. What do you think?
Couple of things. First is Houthi.
Okay.
Secondly, it's pretty damn serious. Thirdly, the United States will solve this problem. France, Britain, Germany's not got much by way of armed forces to contribute. I mean, Germany's a disgrace. They will solve this problem. I mean, one way or the other.
Yeah.
And they did this in the Gulf. During the oil tanker crisis. Sure. They will do this, in the Red Sea for sure. And it may be a really good thing because maybe it'll solve the Houthi issue for once and for all.
There you go.
I mean, is Iran really crazy? I mean, do they really think that they're going to get a relief from there? Who knows? I mean, they're impossible to judge. But yeah. I do think that it's a very serious problem, but I think the United States will solve it.
All right. Well, let's take a look at the numbers, Larry. It's the after hours. I'm sorry, the pre-market or after. I don't know what to call it anymore on the stocks. I'm going to call it the after hours because that's what it says on my phone.
Okay.
So the after hours on Tesla is down 56 cents. And that's where it's been sitting almost entirely since 3:30. No, wait, what does it close for you guys? 4:30 East time?
At 4 p.m.
Yeah, 4 p.m. Yeah. So since
but let me just say one thing. Yeah. There's a very good reason Tesla is down.
Okay.
There aren't buyers.
The what?
There aren't buyers. There are more sellers than buyers.
Oh, thank you for that, Larry. Oh, the whole time you've been on my show, I don't think you've ever said anything that I could find zero argument for. Nothing on the other side. All right, let's look here to see what's happened in the rest of the. I think they.
Randy, you laugh, but for years there've been these guys on X who've said, "Oh, it's manipulation," or it's the big. They're always blaming somebody.
Yeah.
There are just no buyers. I mean, there are more sellers than buyers.
Yes, of course. Yes. Well, by the way, there's breaking news on CNBC. Tesla to raise the pay of hourly Nevada Gigafactory workers in January. So that would be, I suppose now that they've done that, we can expect more headlines about the other Gigafactories. I would think if they're doing it there, it's kind of hard.
Well, Nevada's an interesting case. I just don't know what's happening with that factory.
No.
They're supposed to have started the expansion. And I think they may, it's interesting.
Well, if they announced today that we will be seeing semi, ramping up to full production, then Gig and Nevada is going to have to at some point start expanding. I think.
Yeah.
All right. So we got the bonds, Larry. Now they've retreated again. I'm sorry. The interest rates have retreated by 2.5 basis points on the 10-year. The 2-year only by 1. And the shorter term ones are actually up. But anyway, interesting to see that what happened during the day now has been reversed in the pre-market on the bonds. So no real trend that we can identify there. We have got oil. Let's see here. We've got oil down. So so far they're not terribly concerned. It was up a little bit today. But now, so they don't seem
we're not at the, we don't have a 6 print yet. So until we have a 6 print, we shouldn't celebrate. But we could get a 6 print before this is all over.
We could. Natural gas, about even, not really any movement. No movement on gold. Copper down 0.2%.
Really?
Yep. Silver
Oil
down.
will follow. Oil will follow.
Oil will follow. Okay. And then we've got the Dow. Well, I'm sorry, the Bitcoin has recovered a little. It was down, but now it's back up to 42.7 for those who care. And then the Dow. Okay. So basically going nowhere right now. Dow's down 25. That's 0.07. S&P down 0.04. That's two points. And the NASDAQ future down 15 points, down 0.09. So pretty flat in the
well, you realize Bitcoin will start being reflected in the financials, in the Tesla financials.
That's right. And we're gonna have a lot of things in the margins this time.
Down below the bottom line.
We're also expecting the services to go up quite strongly.
I think the services are going to go up for charging specifically, but services were atypically down last quarter. I think we'll see a bounce back up to growth. So I'm expecting a reversal of the drop plus some growth on services this quarter.
And I haven't thought to ask you this, and I might as well end with this one. What do you think about solar, the solar business at Tesla? We know that interest rates was the main reason that Elon gave for why it was kind of being, pushed off to the side. They just weren't doing well because of interest rates. Now the interest rates are coming down. We had some information the other day in terms of some Tesla putting out an ad, I think, or an email saying we will not be underbid. And we've also got quite a few headlines coming out that solar is expected to do well next year. Do you think there's any chance we'll see some kind of a serious amount of effort put into solar?
I'm the worst guy in the world to ask about Tesla solar. Because several years ago, I ordered a Tesla solar roof.
And you got a different bill or estimate.
Well, they fixed that. They want to double the price on me, and I actually accepted the double of price. But then they came back and they dropped the price again, and that was great. They even sent an engineer out to check my roof out, but they never turned up and they never responded. And and so for me, I'm the wrong guy to ask because I think that business is dead. I think that bird is dead. That parrot is dead. And I think all they're doing is they're, hammering it on the desktop, on the countertop. I think it's dead.
I'm sure glad this show is primarily men, Larry, after that analogy. Larry, as always, it's a great pleasure to have you on Good News Monday and also Friday. So people should check back in. Tomorrow night is the first time that I'm going to have Nick Gibbs joining me on Tuesday nights now for Good News Tuesday. So that'll be an interesting new flavor to add to the Good News set. So
I'll be sure to watch.
Okay, great. Thanks, Larry, again. And to all of you out there, it has been great talking to you.
Good night, Randy.